Hey everybody, Keith McGinnis here at KCDC Designs out of Eagle, Nebraska. So we're going to create two sample boards. We've got this one, which is actually what the customer chose, and then we've got this one as well. So stay tuned and let's just jump right into it. So I've got my two sample boards prepped with the black undercoat, stone coat undercoat paint, and what I'm applying right there is just plain black Alumilite dye. On the other one is a mixture of the black Alumilite dye, and then also, believe it or not, that is a black metallic, which almost looks more like a deep silver. So for this one here on that side, I'm just going to get the board covered with the Alumilite black dye, and I'm going to let that sit there for just a minute. And then on the other one, I'm just going to very lightly meld those colors together. Then I'm going to let that set and give it a chance to kind of soften up and give that epoxy a chance to, while it's still fluid, to kind of soften up before I go on to the next step with that one. And you're really going to like the technique that I use on that and how that turns out. So on both of these, I'm not going to be using, basically I'm not going to be using any more epoxy. All of these, the designs on both of these are going to be created just using spray paint. And the Rustoleum spray paints I'm going to be using are champagne bronze, gunmetal gray, French beige, and then also hammered gray. So I'm going to start off with this one by just putting some spray paint on my tongue depressor, and I'm just going to start running some veins. And I'm going to be using the different colors, and I'm just going to start layering those veins. And I'm going to try to keep those veins fairly tight. And by using the tongue depressor, which is a little bit thinner than a paint stir stick, I'm going to be able to get those colors ran in there and keep those veins fairly tight. Once I get all of my colors added in that I want and get those worked into the epoxy, then I'm going to take my heat gun and I'm just going to soften those up a little bit, just to make them look less man-made, make them look a little bit more authentic. And there are several colors that I'm using, and that's what it's going to end up looking like. And that's what the heat gun is doing, is just kind of opening those veins up a little bit. And then I'm just going to let that set. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the other piece. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking my spray paints using the same colors, the champagne bronze, gunmetal gray, the French beige, and then also the hammered gray. And I'm going to run those spray paints in there, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to layer those spray paints in, and I'm putting those in fairly heavy, as you can tell. And then I'm going to use my stir stick. I'm going to use the flat of the stick. I'm not going to use the end of it. I'm going to use the flat of it because I really want to move those colors around and basically move those into the epoxy. So as you can see here, I'm using the flat of the stick, and all I'm doing is just working that in a little bit, but I don't want to overwork it. And what's important about this technique is once you run your stir stick through there, you just have to walk away and leave it alone and just kind of let it start to do its thing. And some really cool effects will start to develop in just a matter of time. There's not a whole lot more I'm going to do with that. I'll take some of the colors, as you can see there, that I get on my stick and just kind of move those into a couple different areas. And now I'm going to take some Seaside spray paint, and those are going to be the accents. So for this particular customer, their back wall was kind of a teal looking color, and so that's why I'm adding some Seaside accents to that to help tie in with the customer's back wall. And same thing with that French beige. The reason I use that color is because this is a business and it is a kind of a boomerang shaped top, and then there is blocks below that match that color of that French beige, so that's why I put those colors in there. So as you can see, that's all I'm doing here is getting those accents put in there with that teal, and there's not a whole lot left to this technique. In time, that's going to continue to develop, and you'll see some pictures here in just a minute, but that's really about it. Now on that one, I thought I had a little bit too much open space, so I'm just going to run another accent vein inside that. And then that's pretty much going to wrap it up. So I showed those two sample boards to the customer, and they kind of wanted a combination of the two. They really, really liked the one on the right, but they wanted a little bit more black. Now, being on a much larger surface, I knew that there was going to be a lot more black area opposed to a 12 by 16 sample board. But they loved the colors, everything matched really well. The one on the left, they really liked that one as well, but I think it's that one on the right that, along with the stone that they had on where this countertop is going to sit, that's really what kind of tied all that in together. But they both really turned out nice. So that's it. I mean, it's a pretty simple technique, and that's how that one turned out with the veins, and then that's how that one turned out. And you can see when I said give it time to develop, how those veins came in there, and then that's the finished product. That's what went on the customer's reception desk. So that's all there is, everybody. Thanks again for watching. Please hit the subscribe button, and this is Keith McGinnis with KCDC Designs.